everybody, and welcome back to the channel. It's your girl Lori, and I want to go in a little bit more on your ego. So we know, if you haven't seen it, I have a playlist of 5 ego death series talking about how you can lower your ego. But there's a few areas that I've recently been doing different short form videos like TikToks and Reels on that people were like, wow, I didn't realize that that was like a part of my ego, right? Because you think of ego, and I don't know what you think of ego, but I know growing up, people used to think that you had a big ego if you basically loved yourself, but people didn't know what that looked like, right? No, that is not, no, that being conceited and having an ego is a little bit of a different thing, though they do sometimes go hand in hand. But with your ego, the moment, this is where you're gonna have to check yourself and be honest with yourself. The moment you're judging someone else, check your ego. Are you doing everything that you want to be doing? Are you living your life in the way that you would like to live it to the T? Because if you're not, then you want to check your ego at the door. Now, people have said, well, everybody judges people. No, you don't judge people, you judge the situation and the circumstance. And I want to go into that because this is the difference of living in a healthy ego. You're never going to be out of your ego. It's a huge part of your life. You have the id, the super ego, and the ego. So you have various levels, but it's just about which one's going to be present, right? And so that's where you have to understand that you can look and disagree with something and not go to bed and try to figure out their why. Well, why did this person step out on that person? Or why did this person step out on me? I mean, you can keep asking those questions, but the reality is until you have radical acceptance, which is a massive DBT skill that I use with all my clients and myself, until you can radically accept that things are the way that they are not good, they are not bad, they just are. Literally, they just are. They're not good, they're not bad, they just are. We attach our experience to them. So if we feel some kind of way, we allow that emotional response, right? Even if it's subconscious. So instead of going, well, I need to know the why, once again, you're going to move back the goalpost, right? If somebody, so here's a goalpost, I'm thinking like football, right? Here's a goalpost. I feel like we should have little legs there, but there's a goalpost. And you say, well, why would you do this? And somebody tells you their why, and you don't like the answer, you're not going to like that. And you're going to keep going, why, all to make you understand it and feel better. That's your ego. When you accept that you don't have to know somebody's why, you don't have to understand their why, you don't have to understand their actions, and you don't judge them. See, you get really quick at judging other people because at the end of the day, you're not good with self. Because when you're good with yourself, and I mean full self-love where you've accepted all of you, you're not worried about anything anybody else is doing. Now you can be there and have an opinion on it. Don't judge them. And don't give that opinion unless it's asked for. And this is why I say I don't judge. I can look at a situation and be like, okay, that doesn't really vibe with me. I don't care what they're doing. If it doesn't vibe with me, I'm not going to rock with it. And that's being good with yourself. See, your ego takes over when you aren't good with yourself, when you don't have that self-love, when you haven't accepted all of you, when you haven't given yourself that grace, and you haven't done your micro-goaling, and you haven't done your journaling, and you haven't started healing your traumas, you're always going to look at somebody else and look down your nose at them. Big sign to let you know that you're not healed. And people are like, what do you mean you don't judge? I don't judge people. Oh my God, I used to be the most judgy person on the planet in my 20s, or late teens, early 20s. I'm 51 now. And once I've gone through and understand that everybody that you meet is on some kind of a journey, and every human being that is watching this video and that you're surrounded with in any part of your life is going through something. Everyone, good, bad, or indifferent. And it's not up to you to decide what it is for their journey. And it becomes hard when you're an adult, right? Because when you're an adult and you have kids, it becomes harder because you want them to do what it is that you want to do to prevent them from living a certain way and going through the pain. I hear you, and it's great, but here's what you have to understand. And I promise you, as I deal with a lot of kids too, like a lot of people in high school and younger and, of all ages, but you think that you're making an impact. Instead, they are like, I don't really want to hear this. And you know that between this age and this age, let's say, I feel like birth, but let's say 10 to maybe early 20s when the frontal lobe gets formed, everybody knows everything. No, it's fine. Again, you see the train get ready to hit the building and you go, oh my God, the train's getting ready to hit the building. You try to tell the person, the train's getting ready to hit the building. They go, no, I can go around the building. And you think, no, you can't. And then you beat yourself up because they're not listening to you. That's your ego. You have to remember that people have to experience their own, I don't want to say failures, their own things in life, but yeah, essentially failures. They have to run into that brick wall to know how to be resilient. You can't fix everybody. That's your ego. To think that you can please everybody in the world, ego. To think you can fix everybody in the world, definitely ego. And so when you're in that ego space, just check yourself and be like, oh, I see what I'm doing here. I should probably go journal why I can't let go of control. Control is always within an ego. Yes, it could be rooted in trauma. We know this. We know this. But you can't control another human as much as you want to. So you cannot like it. You don't have to rock with it. See, that's the big thing. Just because you accept somebody or something for what they are, doesn't mean you're giving it an approval. Acceptance is totally different than approval. Don't get them misconstrued. It's like sex and love. They're not the same thing. They're not the same thing. Sex is here, love is here. Don't attach this like emotional thing into that. It's the same thing with acceptance, right? You're not approving something. You're just accepting that somebody is where they are. It's not worth your energy. Why are you going to keep running into the brick wall? Because now you're into insanity. Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result, insanity. So you always have to remember what it is that you are thinking. When you start judging other people and needing to know the why and becoming kind of like nasty with things, you really are going to have to check yourself on it. Because that's where you know you're in your ego. So what do you do when you see things that you don't like? Well, on social media, it's really easy. You can just unfollow or scroll past. You don't need to like drop 1 million negative comments on somebody's post. That's your ego that seems to think that you are so entitled to an opinion on somebody else's stuff that you're going to drop it in there because it's so relevant. No, if you don't like it, that's fine. You don't have to like everything that everybody creates. Just keep it moving. Just keep it moving. You're putting in too much energy. Way too much energy and thinking that you're entitled to that opinion on somebody else's page. No, hard pass. So I want you to be careful of that because constantly you're looking at other people. Are you blaming everybody else? Are you trying to figure out everybody else's why? But then when it comes to you, you're like, well, I'm good. That's your ego. Because you're afraid to lower down that, lower down your weapons, so to speak. But you gotta lower down the weapons. You gotta. Because if you don't lower down those weapons, you're gonna always be in battle. And now if you're always in battle, you're never gonna be at peace. And you're always gonna expect all these other people to be in battle with you. You're gonna expect yourself to I have to have the last word. I have to do that. Ego, ego, ego. And again, I have a great there's 5 different episodes, it's like an hour in total, a little bit, maybe a little less, a little over, that talks about your ego death on how you can shed that ego. But first and foremost is you gotta be vulnerable. See, vulnerability is not bad. Vulnerability is where confidence lies. Because when you become vulnerable and you allow yourself not to be held captive by your past, by a situation in your past, not the situation itself, but the idea that you're embarrassed by it. I'm not embarrassed by things. Oh, I used to be. Everybody's like, oh my God, I don't want to see this. And you see, I'm sitting here with no makeup on. I get my Botox, get my fillers, but I don't do it because I have to have it. I do it because I actually like it. I enjoy it. I literally enjoy it. But I don't color my hair. You see this, right? I stopped coloring my hair years ago. So I just do, hey, I'm going to go for a workout. I'm going to do things like that because it makes me feel better. But I don't I need exercise, but I don't necessarily need the Botox. It's just something I like to do. And I have a great friend who's an amazing injector, so why would I not, right? So that's what I'm saying is you have to understand that you don't need the approval of everybody else. And side note, they don't need your approval either. If you think that your opinion is so valid and you give it without being asked for it, then you're in your ego. So what do you do when you catch yourself judging? Just check yourself. Just be like, oh, I see what I'm doing here. Okay, so I need to focus that energy on me. Because sometimes when you have to hold a mirror to yourself, you have to look in the mirror and you have to realize, hey, you're not a bad person. You did what you did with the tools you had at the time. So you can't look in the rearview mirror and be like, oh, I should have swerved around that hole. Well, okay, but you didn't because you didn't know that there was a hole there in the first place. So be kind to yourself. But also check yourself because that's where growth lies. That's the important part. Growth lies there. That's where growth lives. And that's what I want you to be fully aware of, is that when you put down an acceptance and release what no longer serves you without the need to understand the why, because you'll say you want to understand the why so you can understand how somebody functions. That's not really always a true statement. You want to do that so you know it's not you. That's your ego. Accept the unknown. The beautifulest place on the planet is the unknown, because there's so much opportunity there. So yes, check your ego, be kind to yourself, and just focus inward. Because my loves, you are the only person you're going to spend 100% of your life with.